Donald Trump indicted by a vote of a grand jury in New York.
This is the second time former President Trump has been indicted.
This is the third time.
This is the fourth criminal indictment of the former president in less than 5 months.
As criminal charges against Donald Trump piled up, questions over whether he's legally eligible to serve rose to the surface. Now, having been indicted for attempting to illegally overturn the 2020 election results and his engagement with the January 6th attack on the Capitol, legal scholars, members of Congress, and even members of Trump's own political party are questioning his eligibility.
We've been saying all along that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment presents a clear and unequivocal statement that anyone who has sworn an oath of office, who engage in insurrection or rebellion, having sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, can never serve again in federal or state office.
I would say that there's probably going to be some challenges under the 14th Amendment. I am persuaded that it is another issue that should keep him from the presidency, that could keep him from the presidency.
Constitutional qualifications to run for the president are actually pretty simple. As long as a person is a natural-born U.S. citizen, at least 35 years old, and has been a resident for 14 years, they meet the criteria laid out in the Constitution. So constitutionally speaking, Donald Trump fulfills the eligibility criteria and some more. Being a one-term president, he also meets the requirements stated in the 22nd Amendment that bars presidents from holding office for more than 2 terms. But Trump's eligibility has gotten shaky with his latest indictments because an insurrection is where the Constitution draws the line, legal scholars say.
Section 3 says that a person who previously held a government office, either state or federal, cannot hold one again if they, quote, engaged in insurrection against the United States or they gave aid and comfort to the enemies of the United States.
Meaning, should he be convicted of insurrection-related charges, Trump would, by that legal theory, be disqualified. But legal experts say the issue of invoking the 14th Amendment is not as clear-cut as it seems.
It hasn't been litigated much in American history, and there are many areas for debate. The first is, what does it mean to engage in insurrection? President Trump hasn't, in fact, been charged with engaging in insurrection. Prosecutors decided not to charge him with that. So if the legal requirement is that you have to be charged with engaging in insurrection, then he would not qualify under this provision. Another question is the amendment self-executing? In other words, can any official decide that someone engaged in an insurrection against the United States, or do you have to have a congressional determination that they've so engaged, or a determination by a court?
Despite these complexities, more and more legal experts are reaching the conclusion that the 14th Amendment does indeed apply to the former president.
Yes, it does apply, and he should be barred.
Some secretaries of state are already being urged to invoke it, and it's possible indeed that someone might decide to keep him off the ballot. What courts will do after that is anyone's guess.
I admit we don't have any clear precedent on point on this. There's a dispute about it, and certainly it is likely this issue will end up in the courts.
And even if the 14th Amendment does somehow end up barring Trump from running again, there still is a mechanism that could override that prohibition. The same section of the Constitution states that Congress could remove this disqualification if 2/3 of the House and Senate vote to reinstate him, which seems unlikely in a closely divided Congress in which his Democratic opponents control the Senate.
He was acquitted by the Senate both times, and therefore the issue of barring him never actually came up. But if Trump had been convicted in one or both of his impeachments, then there is a procedure laid out in Article 1 of the Constitution which discusses impeachment, under which he could be barred from serving in federal office again.
If Trump is convicted of a felony unrelated to the charges related to January 6th insurrection or overturning the 2020 election results, there is nothing in the Constitution that legally prohibits him from running for president. In this case, he will not be able to cast a vote for a certain period of time in almost everywhere in the country because he would be a convicted felon, but he would still be eligible to run for president. Which raises the question, is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment the only way Trump could get disqualified?
I think it's at the very least the only likely way. You can imagine him being impeached again and convicted and then disqualified on that basis, but that seems a very unlikely scenario.